Hi, this is Joyce, waiting for my two guests to come on, Cora Portnoff and Wray Gunn. I'm sure you've met them before. They're activists in the Berkshire community and very active in the NAACP, civil rights, and equal justice. So we'll wait for them to come on. I'm frustrated because I was looking back at old archives that I've written, but I don't go back. I guess I got onto social media in 2012. But you guys are doing this your whole life, and Wray certainly has been doing this his whole life, trying to get people to listen and understand and respond.
Right.
As a human being. Why do you think that? I actually feel that now there might be legislation that will come out of these protests because people are so attuned to what's going on. And also the cell phone has transformed all our lives.
Right. Absolutely. If it weren't for that 17-year-old girl, where would we be, if you think about it? And
that's the joking one, the 17-year-old girl. But when you stop and look, in the last 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the last 10 years, we've had the shootings at the high schools. We've had brutality on the streets for minors, for the minority races, real. And we see that now we learn that police are sort of like, what's the word they use? The police have
a blue wave.
Yes, which I never knew before. And so that's why they show up so often. I guess they can lose a job here, go to the next one, and their references don't mean a thing because they can get rehired and go right back out and do what they were doing.
It's kind of like the Catholic Church.
Oh, that's not what I meant then. The
blue wave is something else. Yeah.
I was thinking about the solidarity that they show for each other.
Oh, the
fact that they are wholly unaccountable at this point,
right,
or asked to use proportional force. It's anything goes.
Right, and then they just cover it up when they make their report. They leave things blank, or they just say unknown cause, and that's been going on for decades since I was teaching, I think.
Decades?
And that's the Stone Age. That's going back to the way back.
Yeah, and then you look at it, the police union is a lot stronger than we all thought it was. They've got a lot of power.
Yep.
They've got a lot of power and they get things done, especially when the police are involved and when policemen themselves are involved. It's a shame. That's a whole new department out there. The union, the police force, and the government.
When I was saying about the cover-up in the Catholic Church with the pedophile clergy, that is very similar to what the police force and to a certain extent the fire departments are doing. And when you think about it, who are the members of the police force and the fire departments? Irish Catholics, Italian Catholics, mostly Irish Catholics, but Catholicism went right through the ranks. And boy, you have to this day, my girlfriend's son in the fire department in New York, bless him, he died, but he was certainly very, very, very prejudiced.
You feel it is a clique, and it is a clique.
Oh, it's a brotherhood.
It is a brotherhood hasn't
Yeah.
been broken.
Right.
I
Yeah.
know when I was in the building trades, to work in residential apartment buildings, that too was a clique. Now we have
Yes.
a lot of minorities working, but
Uh-huh.
my building itself is not unionized.
Oh,
They would-
okay.
If we were a unionized building, it's
Uh-huh.
most likely they'd have to come through the preferred ranks. They
Oh.
wouldn't be able to come into the building.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
So discrimination,
Yeah.
it's still there. And do you think it has gotten worse, or do you think that we just know more about it?
I think we know more about it. I think, it's about the same or maybe worse, but it depends where you are. Like somebody at the hospital was asking how Wray gets treated at the hospital. I said, well, it's really hard to tell because when Wray goes in there, he gets the red carpet treatment because we are well known in the area. You can't really judge but to say that there isn't racism in this bucolic, lovely area, there is, definitely. And there was an example of it recently. A young student, a freshman at Monument Mountain, wrote some racist things on Facebook. There you go. That's a young person. Where is that young person getting their attitudes from?
Their
The
parents.
parents, right.
Their
So it's
parents in the church.
going, right. It continues. But of course, if you're in New York in the projects, it's much worse. In Chicago, it's much worse. Depending where you are, but it's everywhere, and it always has been. I think.
Well, and the other thing is, as Cora says, it's always been there. It all depends on how you handle it when it pops up in your situation. When you're out or someplace else like that, there are some people that show it outwardly. You can tell by the way they talk, by the way they look at you, and the way they feel offended by being in your presence. Where there are others that have that deep-seated hatred, who can stand there and give you and talk to you and work with you and do all the other things. But when push comes to shove in a sudden moment, they let some out, which is the deep feeling. And yourself, once you get really mad at somebody, you can say things you don't mean to say, or that's deep down in, and you let it go, and right away you're sort of like sorry for it, but it's there, it's there. But the thing always is, after they throw it out there, what do? How do you take that? Are you going to say, well, you're off my list forever, we'll try and work this out, and things like that? So I think it depends on the person and how he feels about the situation and what he can do after that. Let's take an example. Suppose you're a senator. Yeah, a senator in New York and things in Washington, D.C. And some of these things are coming up now. Do you think they're all against anti-discrimination?
No.
A lot of them are just going with the flow because their big boys are pushing that bill through. But when you get them on the side and you talk to them, you know that a lot of them are lying through their teeth.
No,
And
I agree with you both. I've seen it. I've had it happen to me as being a Jewish woman. I've had it happen as long ago as in the 70s when people found out that I was Jewish, and I had to work with them and collaborate with them. And some people said to me, "We're sorry, but we're not dealing with you."
oh my goodness.
And then they would
Yeah.
make all kinds of remarks about me. And people would say to me, even though I worked on 2 convents, somebody said to me, "You're just not like the other Jews."
Wonderful. Well, yeah, that's what,
That
the-
you're different. Somehow or
the-
other, you're different.
yeah, that's my friend. You know, everybody's got, you know, a black friend, a Jewish friend, an Asian friend, you know, that's my friend. Everybody else, you know, that I can be prejudiced to, but not my friend.
Right. Right.
The urgency is right now to stand up to people. And if some of them are your really close friends, it's not worth it. It's not worth the effort. I tell people, I tell Wanda, you know, I can't, Wanda, you know, she's been my friend for 30 years, 40 years, 40. And I just can't do it. That's the way she is. So I let things go, but you're not, these days you're supposed to stand up to them.
No, I agree with you, Cora.
Depends on the price.
I know also I just let it go.
Right,
I
right,
found a way to work around it.
right. Just get back to it later on and address it.
I actually probably never did. I just let it roll off.
Oh,
Because I stayed friends with most of these people for years.
oh,
Yes, I was in business with a lot of people, but I became friends with them. And one woman, we went out to lunch all the time, every single week. We went to
Yeah.
lunch. And
well, you were their friend. You were the exception, right?
so I guess I was. So
Right,
I let it roll off.
right. Because you don't want to pay the price is too steep in some cases. You know, let the movement take care of itself. But you have to do your part.
We have to push it. We have to push the movement. So
Yeah.
it's not protests. That's what happened with Sandy Hook. That's what happens with everything. It's a
Right.
protest and it dies down.